I never would have considered myself to be a person who loves data until I explored the resources and started learning how fun it could be and how applicable the data lessons are to all grade levels in all content areas. Many of you showed how to integrate science, geography, language arts into one lesson using the tools from either ArcGIS or from Google Earth. I really hope you try these lessons with your students. I think they will love them. Please go into VoiceThread and take a look at what everyone else in the class has done. Just look at a couple of samples. Pick one that are not your same grade level so you can see how this tool can impact the learning of everyone that uses it. Some things to consider when completing the last few assignments: how the tools, resources, and strategies address learning styles and needs of your learners. In other words, what impact will the technology you selected have on learning? So you're selecting technologies for your technology integration plan. Why? What purpose will they serve? What benefit will they have to the teacher learner? So if you're going to do professional development, and also the student learners, and yourself included. Some example phrases you can use. One example is reduce distractions so students can focus on content. That could be big T or little t technology. Another example for visual learners, you've selected animations or graphics to help them visually see what's going on in a process, maybe a science process like photosynthesis. Another example, maybe a technology you choose, especially websites, may have adjustable reading levels to make the information accessible to everyone in your class. Maybe you have a set of interpersonal learners, those chatty Cathys we call them, who like to work together. What collaboration tools provide that opportunity for them? So not only are we meeting the standards through the technologies, but also the learning styles of your students. So put on your UDL hat, or lens, I should say, and think about how what you're selecting meets their needs. And make sure that goes in your assignment. Find a way to put that in your assignment in either audio, or you can write it out. But make sure that's forefront. And you may want to have to go back, and we will go back. You should go back, and as you go through each module, update your rationale for the technology integration plan. So an overview for Module 3 is some big takeaways. We're going to talk about safety and protection of students, and we're going to look at some laws. We're also going to talk about accessibility and equity, media creation, or multimedia creation, I should say, and adaptive tools. As you work through the discussion board activities, you're going to look at a set of assistive technologies and adaptive tools. How will your TIP incorporate resources for students with special needs, identified with an IEP or not? Some students have special needs but aren't severe enough that warrants a IEP, but it still would benefit them to have the resources they need. And here I'm referring to big T technology And those are some of the images you see on the screen, like a special walker or even a ramp to get up to the playground. And the little t, which we're talking about the digital tools. Also include training for staff, students, and their parents. Think about how all that will go into your technology integration plan. Over the next 2 weeks, you're going to look at digital media or multimedia creation tools. With that comes some serious responsibilities for both students and educators. And your school should have an acceptable use policy, AUP, that you go over at the beginning of the year with students. And that includes the use of the internet, the school's network or division network, devices, and related accessories, hardware and software. Students will need to learn what responsibilities they have, that there are privileges and rights that come with using the resources provided. How will you include that in your technology integration plan? As more students gained access to using the internet, there was a need to protect them. So laws were developed to help protect children and their online privacy. So that addresses the collection, use, and sharing of their personal information. What is considered personal information? Here's an application form that has personal data, personal information on there. This slide has more detail, and students should know what they should not share online freely. And unfortunately, with social media, and I can refer back to this text and from smartphones to social media, how technology affects our brains and behavior. It has several chapters about how students are sharing their information and what are some of the drawbacks and harmful results from that. But consider, how are we teaching students how to be safe as we are letting them and requiring them to use the internet? So that's another layer of information that needs to go into your technology integration plan, and something you should discuss in the discussion threads over the next 2 weeks. And so it's a good place to share information. Some school divisions, as you notice, have been working on this for a while and may have more resources. So make sure you share those out. Other school divisions maybe are smaller and didn't have the right staffing, and they could use your help. So it's good information to keep all students safe no matter who they belong to. I have a quote here from Tony Wagner. I don't know if you read any of his books. He's also a good speaker. From his book, Creating Innovators, The Making of Young People Who Would Change the World, he has this quote: "Today, knowledge is free. It is like air, it's like water. There's no competitive advantage to knowing more than the person next to you. The world doesn't care what you know. What the world cares about is what you can do with what you know." And there's some nuances that you may not totally agree with, but for the most part, it's a great statement because we're built on a world, and we highlight and celebrate those people who create innovative tools and gadgets that we love to use. With more access to tools and resources, including free tutorials on YouTube or courses on the massive online open source courses called MOOCs, students have more control over their learning. Learners can choose what they want to learn, the way they access the information, and how they show what they've learned. Those are some more of those UDL principles. Multimedia creation tools are available for all levels and abilities of learners. And I'm a big proponent and advocate for students being content creators. So if teachers are the only ones talking and giving information in a classroom, that's not the most effective model for students. They're not getting we're not getting them to that higher order thinking where they can be innovators and creators and where they can have more ownership of their learning. So spend some time over the next 2 weeks looking at some multimedia creation tools and planning how you will use those with students. Part of your to-do list is to explore tools where you edit images as well as create or record and edit multimedia presentations, video and audio. And the purpose is for you to, number one, see what's out there, what's available, and two, to select tools that will meet the needs of your students. What are features they have to meet their interest, their skill level, reading level, as well as does it allow them to be creative, especially if they love art or if they are into music or drama. How does it fit into their styles, the overall learning style, needs, and interest? Once you've completed exploring, you're going to evaluate them, compare them for how effective they are as a tool, technology tool, to create and edit multimedia content. Also, talk about their limitations. There's some limitations for almost every project or product, I should say, that we use, but the pros outweigh the cons of the tools, or sometimes it's all we have, so we have to learn how to make it work. So identify the limitations. This is also some information that will help make your technology integration plan more complete. Once you've identified some resources, you're going to then take those technologies and insert them into this authentic learning chart where each descriptor explains what happens at each level. So for example, the entry level, it says students use technology to complete assigned activities that are generally unrelated to the world beyond the instructional setting. So it's a lower, not such a higher order thinking task. It's probably something that was a worksheet at one time that you're now using a technology to do. And it's a really basic level. The teacher at this level assigns the work based on a predetermined curriculum unrelated to the student or issues beyond the instructional setting. So it's just a general type of activity that this technology is being used for. Then it could be the same technology that you can use differently at the adoption level, or you can pick a different technology for the adoption level, adaptation level, infusion level, and the transformation level. And those I give you the freedom based on your learning styles and needs to represent the information any way you like. Make sure you refer to the rubric when you're making your choices, and you can look at the rubric and make sure all the elements of the rubric are represented in your assignment. Part of assignment 3 is redesigning the ownership of learning with technology poster. This poster has descriptors from the educator voice So the teacher is stating how he uses technology with students. And then it also has student language where the student is represented in red with what the student likes. Like, so the student says, I like having a variety of tech tools to use or choose from. So you're going to update this language based on what you learned about technology, its impact, including the laws you're going to discuss in a discussion board, the standards that we addressed in the first 2 weeks of this course, the levels of technology integration from the integration matrix and the SAMR model, and the characteristics of a learning environment that embraces technology and provides students with a variety of resources. Have fun exploring and creating beautiful digital posters through this list here. Canva is one that most people use, but you will like, and I think switch to some of these other ones once you try them out. So explore these resources first before diving in to make the poster, and see which of the poster creation tools listed here have features that you enjoy and that your students can use and easily or learn how to use to create posters as well.